The hardest part of getting things done is getting started. So at the daily level, the big focus is conquering that resistance to getting started. But the method that I use is you plan tomorrow today, and you get started on tomorrow today. The day really begins the day before. So this right here is the 3 steps that I'm going to walk you through specifically how I do this today. It's so easy, it just takes like 5 minutes. Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about how to make discipline effortless with daily planning. So I want to walk you through my daily planning routine. It's just 3 steps. The whole thing takes less than 5 minutes. It's incredibly easy. It's the same process that I use for all of my different planning routines, but the smaller and smaller chunk of time that it becomes, the less and less time that it's going to take. So this is just 5 minutes. It's super easy. Let's get into it. Warning you, about to be a rip sound. Don't want to scare you. So before I get into the 3 steps, which are so easy, I want to start at step 0, which is kind of the principles that are underlying this whole thing. So this right here is what I call my time funnel. It takes your time and it funnels it down into smaller and smaller chunks as you go down. So the first principle is you're going to need a capture system. So if you're familiar with the book Getting Things Done, this is it's like the productivity Bible. I mean, there are so many instrumental principles within that book. And one that he talks about a lot is that you use your mind to think about things, not of things. So what that means is you want to use your mind for things like creativity or things that really matter to you and not tasks. So anytime your mind is clogged up with tasks, it's taking up space in that valuable mental real estate that you could be using for creativity or things that you really want to be thinking about. So I believe that you should think a thought once. You don't want to be thinking, oh, I need to put snow tires on my car. A couple weeks later, oh, I need to put snow tires on my car. And so if you don't do something with that thought, your mind is going to continue reminding you throughout the days. Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Are you going to do it? And, a lot of times your brain has to do that. Otherwise you'll forget, and some things will still fall through the cracks anyways. So what you want to do is anytime you think of any task you need to do, you immediately write it down in your capture location. Now for me, the capture location is the monthly spread in my planner. So for example, this is the planner that I used last year. Anytime I think of something on the monthly spread, I write it down. And I write it down for as specific as I know. So if it's an appointment that I know the date and the time, then I go ahead and write it in that box. If it's something where I'm thinking like, okay, next year I want to make sure I change the snow tires on my car sooner because this year I did a little too late. So next year I want to remember to do it like the last week of November. So in that case, you don't know the day that you want to do it, but you do know that you want to do it the last week of November. So what I would do is just write it at the start of that week, write it down there. Or if there's something like, oh, I want to go to a drive-in movie theater next year. That'd be fun next summer. So you don't know the day, you don't know the week or anything, but maybe you know the month. So okay, August is a good time to do that. So on August 1st, you write down a drive-in movie theater to remind yourself when you get there what you want to do. And this is so much better than a to-do list. So I think a to-do list, it's just kind of, I've heard it said before, they're kind of just like the junk drawer of your house. They need to be organized in some way. There are these different types of tasks that need to be done at different times, and some of them are actually projects. And so go ahead and organize those things. Put them on the monthly spread of your planner. That's kind of your messy brain dump. Then when you get to weekly planning, you can streamline it. So I like to keep my weekly spreads blank until I get to weekly planning. So the second principle, this is how I organize all of my planning routines. If I do quarterly planning, yearly planning, monthly planning, all of them have the same process. Now, the smaller chunk of time it is, like today we're talking about daily planning, the less time it's going to take. So yearly planning, I spend a lot of time, several hours really planning that out. Once I get down to the daily level, we're just spending like 5 minutes doing this. It's so easy, it's so quick. But regardless of how long I spend doing it, the process is still the same. So the first step is you start at the level you're on. So since we're daily planning today, that's the level we're on. The next step is you go 1 level up and review outcomes and goals you set for yourself at that level. Then you go 1 level down and you chunk and create action items that you want to follow through on. So this right here is the 3 steps that I'm going to walk you through specifically how I do this today. It's so easy, it just takes like 5 minutes. And finally, the last principle is that the biggest issue with discipline and really getting things done is getting started. The hardest part of getting things done is getting started. So at the daily level, the big focus is conquering that resistance to getting started. So you need some sort of methodology, some sort of system for conquering the resistance every day, kind of like getting over that first hurdle of getting started. But the method that I use is you plan tomorrow today, and you get started on tomorrow today. The day really begins the day before. So if you think about it, the way you end one workday is really going to inform the way you start another workday, or the way you end your evening is really going to impact the way you start your morning. So that really is where things kick off and where things begin. So the morning starts the night before, which is a really key theme about this daily level. Okay, so I'm going to take you through my daily planning system. We're done with step 0. So now we're going to get into these 3 steps of starting at the level you're on, going 1 level up, and going 1 level down. Okay, so let's get into step 1 of daily planning. Now, the first step is to start with the level you're on. So you're going to reflect back on, envision forward on, the day. So you're looking back and looking forward at the level you're on. Now this is split into two parts. You've got the evening and the morning. Because like I said, one main principle is that your day starts the night before. So one thing that I'll do is I'll just kind of sit down to the planner. Here's a blank spread, but there's a gratitude space at the bottom. So I start by filling out, what are 3 great things that happened today? What are 3 things I'm grateful for as I review the previous day? So that's kind of going backwards and reviewing the day. It's at this point too that it's good to kind of review the day, resolve things. Were there things on your to-do list that you didn't do? Maybe go through, check off each one that you did do. And if there's something that didn't get done that is still important to you, it's still a priority, migrate that forward to when you would like to do it. So that step is gratitude review. So then, since we've reviewed and gone backward, now we're going to go forward and vision for the day. So part of my routine is so this is the monthly spread, it's got this monthly brain dump, all this stuff on it. So when I get to weekly planning, I write down those important things on the weekly spread at that point. So there will be a few things on here already, but it won't be completely full. It was just the priorities and really important things would already be on here. So then I'm going to view forward. I'm going to see, okay, out of those important things, these are the most important things. They were the first thing to get scheduled on the calendar. What is the step 1 of that thing? So for example, if I wanted to edit a video tomorrow, let's say, first step is taking the SD card, putting it in the laptop and uploading that footage. So I do the step 1 of the important things only, not everything, but of the important things, I do that the night before. So you could do that the night before, you could do that at the end of the workday, however you prefer to do it. Like sometimes, and the step 1s don't take very long. They just take a couple minutes to just, upload the SD card. So at the end of the workday, doing step 1 of whatever will be at the start of the workday tomorrow, so that you can feel totally resolved for your evening. You can fully check out because you're prepared for the next day. And if you've read The War of Art, like especially if you're doing some sort of passion project, the biggest resistance is getting started. A lot of times just that first hump, even with little things, like when I wanted to write my Christmas cards, I did the step 1 the night before, which was just getting out the cards, finding the cards, putting the name on the card so I could do the writing the next day. And it makes it so much easier when you just conquer the resistance, do the step 1, do that first. So that's the evening review. It's so quick, it just takes a couple minutes. So then the next morning, in this planner at the top, it's got 3 blanks for gratitude once again. So it's saying, really making that the intention, starting the day off with positivity. And also having 3 questions, what would make today intentional? So we're kind of visioning forward, what would make today intentional? And I really love to get creative with this question, what would make today intentional? Really make it fun, make it a creative process. Like, I don't use that space to just write in more tasks, like, I'd be intentional if I worked quickly, or, something. I try to make it, what's an amazing, fun thing that I could do today that I wasn't thinking of already, and I can use this opportunity to create, like, a bike ride with a coffee would be really fun today. That would be a really intentional, fun thing I could do today. So all in all, this planning process, I would say these 2 steps is split over, you start it in the evening, then you do it in the morning. I would say this takes about a couple minutes. And then that step 1, that's usually just 5 minutes to go ahead and do that. But the planning process itself, I would say, is about 2 minutes at this step. So we've done the level we're on, that's step 1. Step 2 is to go 1 level up to make sure that you have vertical alignment. So for step 2, this is where we do our week review. We go 1 level up and we look at what did we set for ourselves at the weekly level? Did we have any weekly goals? Did we have any weekly intentions? Did we have people to connect with? So like in this planner, I've got spaces for weekly planning on both of these margins. So I would go and I would look at the weekly level. What did I say when I was weekly goal setting that was important to me? And that weekly goal was informed by my monthly goals, which was informed by my quarterly goals, and so on up the line. So it's just making sure that even down here at the daily level, we still have vertical alignment to make sure we are filtering our big dreams down through this dream management system to make sure that our days are actually looking like our ideal life. So this step is very quick. This is just 1 minute. I would say there's no writing involved in this step, but it's just you go back and you review what did you say for the week. So part of my dream chunking process is, you set a yearly goal, then you chunk that into quarterly benchmarks, then monthly benchmarks, then weekly benchmarks, down to daily benchmarks. So I would go back and look at my weekly plan and I would say, okay, what did I say were my benchmarks for the week? Okay, I said by the end of day 1, I wanted to have filmed and edited a video. Okay, that's important for me to know. And then I had questions for the week, like what would make this week intentional? And I want to make sure that I have this top-down alignment at every single step. So I would say that would take a minute. You just review your answers to these questions and review your answers to these questions, and then we're ready to go on to step 3. So now that we've done the level we're on, the daily level, we've gone a level up to make sure we have top-down alignment at the week. Now we're ready to go one level down and actually plan our day at the hourly level. So this is an example of what a time blocking thing could look like depending on the planner you're using. Like I've got this planner and it's got the hours down the day. And I like to do kind of a modified time blocking. What I really like about time blocking is it requires you to estimate how much time something's going to take. So if you think something's going to take 2 hours, you put it here and you box it. So I kind of like that boxing method. And I've seen different people, they will pack their entire full day full of things, and actually it looks really pretty in my opinion, but it's not that functional for a few reasons. So the benchmark that I've heard, and I actually really like it, I kind of use this myself, is to time block 60% of your day. Now you don't really want to do any more than that because unexpected things will happen, for one, and also sometimes we're a bad judge of time. It's really good to estimate how long things will take, and we should do that in part of planning our day, but a lot of times people will overestimate how long things take that they don't like to do, like, this chore I gotta do, it's gonna take so long, and people will underestimate how long things take that they actually really like to do. So sometimes our estimations are kind of, prone to be skewed by bias. So I would just shoot for like 60%, and especially because you want to allow time for flexibility and fun and, how are you feeling and things like that. So I like to do this in the morning, so I'm sitting down, it's the morning. The only PM step was what I listed on the first slide, everything else just an AM step. So I sit down in the morning and I'm looking at my planner, and this is what would already be in here. So I've already planned in my big priorities. Let's say that's what these represent, my big priorities at the weekly level, I did that. And also the night before, I would have done the step ones for these tasks. And you don't have to do the step ones for every task that you have on the calendar, just the important thing, the thing that you do not want to procrastinate on. Do step 1 the night before. So now, based on the questions we answered, like what would make today intentional, or based on how you're feeling, then you can fill in some of these spaces. And this is part of the pickle jar theory. And the pickle jar theory talks about that if you have a jar, I don't know why it's the pickle jar theory, but a jar. So if you have a jar and you want to fill it with rocks, sand, and water, you have these quantities. You need to put the rocks in first because they don't shapeshift very well. So you put in the rocks first, then you can dump the sand in there, and then you can dump in the water. If you dump in the water first, there's not going to be any room for any rocks or any sand without there being spillover. So you start with the things that are your priorities, the things that you do not want there to be flexibility in their shape. These rocks, these are the big things, the important things, and you don't want to make these important things shape shift around other things, like sand and water can kind of shape shift around other things. So these are the priorities. So you have your priorities in here first, and then you can fill it with other things that you're thinking of. These little things, they're not the big dreams, they're not the big goals, but they're things that you want to do today. So this is where you can fill in, like, do you want to do a bike ride during your break at lunch? Do you want to go get a coffee? And this is where you can fill in your day. But I wouldn't really go above the 60% mark, but this is where you can go and plan your day. So, if my benchmark today was that I wanted to film and edit a video, this is where I can kind of chunk in some of those more specific tasks. I had these broad outcomes, but now I can write in maybe the more specific action items. Like maybe I want to film here. At this point, I've been doing it so long that I don't need to chunk it down into all of the specific tasks. And then maybe I'll edit right here. And one thing is I just show up to the planner. It's really the one habit. If I'm going to do one thing that day, one habit, out of all the habits we want to do, like making the bed or doing all these different things, showing up to the planner is the number one thing that I could do to make my day better. So I just have the commitment to myself that if I wrote it down, I'm going to do it. It's metaphorically, don't think of things that you put in your planner as written in pencil. Metaphorically, think of it as things written in Sharpie. These are things that are important to you. You wrote them down, so make a commitment to yourself to do them. And if it's not something important to you, if you're kind of wishy-washy on it to begin with, don't write it down, because the things that get written down are going to get done. But you can make it as simple or robust as you want it to be. So yeah, this is my daily planning routine. I would say it takes 5 minutes. This step is maybe 3 minutes, and it just really makes sure that all of the priorities get done, that there's top-down alignment, that your hours reflect all the way up to the life that you want to live. So I think this is so easy. When I started doing the step ones the night before, it really changed the discipline aspect. So I have this whole dream management time funnel series. I will have that linked in the description box for all the different types of planning I do. The steps are the same. Start at the level you're on, go one level up, go one level down. So if you're interested, this is the planner that I made, which I will have linked in the description box. I'll also have a free PDF sample if you'd like to take a look at that and do some yearly planning. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.